Welcome to City Week, ladies and gentlemen. Today I have the pleasure of sitting down with the director of Get Troup Reading. I have the pleasure of sitting down with Kim Myers. Kim, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Alton.
Well,
I very much appreciate it.
Well, you know what, Kim, it's a pleasure to sit down with you. And when we talk about reading and Get Troup Reading, this is something that everybody can get involved with. And I know that this is definitely something that you're very passionate about, because I feel the passion, I see the energy, and see the vigor that when you start talking about it. And it's great that we have people like you in our community that want to help our young people get to reading.
Thank you, thank you.
But before we get started with that, Kim, I learned something this past weekend, that I think you got a new son-in-law.
I do have a new son-in-law. Super excited. We've got newlyweds in the family. That was this past weekend, a beautiful wedding here in LaGrange, and everybody from out of town just bragged on our town and loved it, so, as we all do.
That's right. It's a beautiful place.
Beautiful place.
Well, Kim, tell us just a little bit about you, if you don't mind.
Okay, well, I'm Kim Myers. I grew up here in LaGrange. I taught school for many years at Hollis Hand Elementary. I was the media specialist there. I also taught in Atlanta and DeKalb County and Henry County. But about 3 years ago, I started in this position with Get Troup Reading, and we have had Get Troup Reading has been an initiative in the community for about 8 years. We partner with nonprofits, we partner with the school system, we partner with faith-based groups. We have so many great literacy initiatives in our community. Get Troup Reading kind of serves as the umbrella, not to take the place of any of these programs, but to make sure all of our programs, we're working together towards the common goal of making sure our kids have the tools they need, get the instruction they need, the support to be reading on grade level by 3rd grade.
Absolutely. And you say get the tools they need. That is so important when you have the right tool to do the job that you need. It makes the job that much easier.
That's right. That's right.
Well, talk a little bit about Get Troup Reading. You guys started out, you work with other nonprofits, faith-based and things of that nature. How is that working? How's it working in the community?
Well, it's been great. I have really, I knew of Get Troup Reading when I was still in the school system, because it was a branch of Get Georgia Reading, which our school system has received a grant from the state. It's called the L4GA grant. Troup County School System has received that grant for about 8 to 10 years now. And it's a wonderful grant that actually all of our schools benefit from, and the funds are used towards literacy, improving reading. And part of those funds from this grant from the state are to be used in the community through community initiatives. That's where Get Troup Reading comes in. We're able to partner with the school system to implement things in the community, because teaching our kids to read is not just the school's responsibility.
That's right. Absolutely.
We can't just send them to school in kindergarten and think, okay, well, here they are. Now it is a community, all of us, it's a community-wide effort that we give our kids what they need to be successful in school. And because of this grant and Get Georgia Reading, and then now Get Troup Reading, we're able to really have a strong community to school system piece, along with our nonprofits. Very good. That's so important that you bring all the pieces of the puzzle together. Yes, all the pieces together.
And you're talking about a grant, and you're talking about Get Troup Reading, Get Georgia Reading. There's an event that you guys have coming up that, again, everybody can get involved with.
Everybody.
And I know that 2022.
Yes.
2020 was not such a clear year that year. We had that pandemic that hit and just kind of set things back somewhat.
Right.
And I know that the school system felt the impact because kids were, homeschooled, various things. And you guys have this summit that's coming up. Talk a little bit about how that's going to help to erase some of that forgetfulness. Talk about this summit that's coming up.
Well, and I'm glad you mentioned 2020, because this is actually the second summit, the Get Troup Reading Summit. This is the second summit. We partner with United Way and Get Troup Strong and Troup Family Connections. The first summit was held in 2020, March of 2020, the weekend before we shut down. It was a very successful summit. It was attended by a lot of Get Georgia Reading officials, and it really we brought to the community the importance of early brain development, the importance of third grade reading, and we had so much momentum going after that summit. There were over 200 people there from the community. It was great. Next weekend, we all went home, and we know what happened for the next 2 years.
That's right.
So our goal was to have a summit every year, and we've not obviously been able to do that. So we're super excited that on November 5th, we will have our second Get Troup Reading Summit, continuing to keep Troup strong.
Yes.
And the focus of this summit is going to be on trauma and how trauma affects early learning and therefore affects literacy.
Right. When you talk about trauma, and I know that we talked about this a little bit, give some examples of some of the trauma that kids face now.
Children face trauma, and there's a term that I've learned a lot about in the past year, toxic stress.
Toxic stress.
Toxic stress. Dr. Joy Baker, who is one of our speakers at the summit, she talks about toxic stress. You know, we know about stress. We say children, this is a part of their everyday lives. Toxic stress, what parents are going through, filters right down to the students, right down to the children. And these kids, our youngest kids have been home for the past 3 years and have dealt with food insecurities, have dealt with parents not being able to go to work, parents and grandparents and caregivers worrying about where are we going to get the funds to pay the rent. Big lifestyle changes, families coming together, college kids coming home, young adults coming home to live at home. You know, it's been we've been in very challenging times, and that affects children. And when children feel stress and experience trauma, it usually leads to misbehavior, acting out, being disinterested, being depressed. And children are really experiencing depression as early as 2 and 3 years old, and they don't have, it's hard for us to deal with it. Children don't know the tools to self-regulate. They don't understand how to deal with a lot of these emotions that they're feeling. So that is why we have chosen to focus on trauma and how it affects early learning, and to find solutions to give child care providers, teachers, parents, anyone interested in the life of a child, the tools they need to help teach children how to, and parents, teach children and parents how to deal with this trauma that's been affecting our lives the past few years.
So important. You said so much there, Kim. You're talking about the trauma and the solutions to it. And we think about what you and I as adults go through as far as stress is concerned and how we deal with it. And then you take that and you dump it on a child.
Right.
That may not necessarily know how to process those things. So we're glad that this summit is taking place.
Yes.
So we can get some solutions. And I heard you mention Dr. Joy Baker is one of the speakers. I know that there would be other speakers that will be there too, if you don't mind.
Yes, we have some great speakers. Excuse me, I've got to put my glasses on.
That's okay.
We have some great speakers. The morning's going to start at 8 o'clock at Callaway Conference Center. registration will be 8 to 8:30. Our first speaker is Jill O'Meara. She is the director of right from the start with DECAL, which is the Department of Early Child Care and Learning. Thanks to DECAL, we have the funds. The United Way wrote a grant to receive the funds for Troup Strong to bring this summit to LaGrange, to Troup County. And so thanks to DECAL, we're able to help fund the summit. And she's going to come and actually talk about the history of these. This is the third grant that the United Way has received from DECAL to address childhood trauma. And she's going to explain a little bit about the history of childhood trauma and how DECAL works with our child care centers and our early learning in the state to find solutions. We're also going to have Grace Nagel, who is with the Basics Chattahoochee Valley. She's our neighbor in Columbus. She's a partner of ours. We are part of an initiative called the Basics, Troup County. The Basics are 5 simple principles that can be implemented in the daily life of a child, children 0 to 3, to help with early brain development. And the first principle is maximize love, manage stress.
Maximize love, manage stress.
Children cannot learn. We can't do anything unless these babies feel loved and are secure.
That's right.
And so that once again brings into the trauma piece.
Okay.
She's going to come and talk about the basics and how the basics support social, emotional, and cognitive development in young children. Dr. Stacy Wallen is our third speaker. She's coming to us from Atlanta, from Cox Campus, which is a wonderful free resource for parents, teachers, child care providers that shares resources available to construct a child's deep reading brain.
Wow, deep reading brain.
Deep reading, that's what we're going for, Alton.
Okay.
Deep reading brain, not just calling words.
That's so important, isn't it?
It is comprehension, it is fluency,
right.
and it starts in vitro. With that language development.
Wow.
So she's going to talk about that. Dr. Douglas Bell, he's coming to us from Kennesaw State University. I've seen him speak. He's great. He's funny. He's lighthearted. And he's going to share evidence-based practices that focus on language, support book exploration, word and vocabulary support, and sound play. Wow. Now that's a lot of jargon. That's education jargon, sound play. But these are all the fundamentals that are needed when a child is 2, 3, 4 years old, in those early years before they get to school. Mm-hmm. They need that language development so they're ready to learn to read when they get to school. And then we're going to have our very own Dr. Joy Baker. Dr. Baker is going to examine the data on the effects of trauma on mothers and babies during pregnancy and the postpartum period. Wow. She is kind of a specialist in this field. Okay. And so she's going to share with us, like you were saying, what are some of the effects? Mm-hmm. She's going to give us, this is what we can see if children are experiencing this trauma. Okay. And then we're going to close out with Dr. Shoemate, Dr. Brian Shoemate from the school system. Okay. He's going to be there, bring it all together for us, because what we're trying to do is have our kids ready to hit the doors of the school building, ready to learn to read. Ready to learn.
Well, you know, with this lineup, it's an exciting lineup. And you know, it's so important that we do as much as we can to educate our kids, to help them. And when you talked about not just word calling, comprehension, that is so important.
Fluency, yes.
Absolutely. And you know, and again, Kim, this is all being provided by the grant, so it's free to the public,
free
right?
to the public, free to child care providers, early learning educators. We hope to have a lot of our local child care centers having the directors and the teachers there. It's open to anybody, parents, grandparents, faith-based groups. You know, that's the second biggest place you're going to find our kids, are in our churches.
That's right.
And you know, in the nurseries. This is a community movement. We're all in this. Isn't just the school's responsibility.
That's right.
We've got to do our part as a community to help our children be stress-free, to learn how to manage trauma, and to have the language skills and development they need to be successful in school. That's what this whole day is about.
Well, great, Kim. This is absolutely wonderful information. You talked about registration. Is there a number that they can call, or a website that they can go to register?
I'm going to send you. We have a QR code. We have a flyer. You can go to the Get Troup Reading Facebook page. You can go to the United Way Facebook page. We're pushing this out lots of ways, but I'm going to leave this with you all to include.
Very good.
There is a link to sign up. Also, I, of course, can be reached, Kim Myers, at gettroupreading.org, to sign up, and we're going to provide breakfast, lunch. We're going to have door prizes.
Wow.
You're probably going to walk away with some free books, which is always good.
Yes.
And we will be celebrating the 5th anniversary of the Jungle Bus.
That's right. Absolutely. That seems like a fun-filled day.
It's going to be fun.
You're going to be learning, understanding how to address trauma that your children may be facing. You know, get some valuable tools to put in your toolbox.
That's right.
And take back into the community wherever you go. Awesome
We
day.
don't want to just talk about the problems. We want to, this is how we can work towards fixing these problems.
Right. And it's going to take all of us working together.
Does. And it's not going to happen overnight.
Not going to happen overnight.
But we are super excited to have this second part of the Troup Strong initiative, which started in 2020 and provided training teachers on how to address trauma and the outcomes of trauma in the classroom.
Very good. Also, speaking of teachers, I understand that teachers can get CEUs for attending.
Oh, that's right. I totally forgot about that.
That's right.
Child care providers can get continuing ed units, credit hours. It's been approved, so we will take care of making sure you have what you need to turn those hours in if that's something you are interested in.
Very good. Kim, I just can't say thank you enough for what you do in the school system and the community at large.
We have a very supportive community
absolutely,
here.
Absolutely. So I want to thank you very much for coming on and sharing this information.
Thank you.
I know that like before the pandemic, you guys are going to be bursting at the seams with attendance there, and we're going to take away valuable tools to help to continue to educate our kids so they'll be ready to go to whatever community, which we hope they'll come back here to LaGrange to continue to make this a great little city.
Yes, great.
Kim, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Alton.
All right,
I appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned for more City Week coming up in just a moment. Welcome back, City Weeks, ladies and gentlemen. Now we have from Visit LaGrange, we have Lynne Holie that's going to talk about some upcoming events that we all can take part in. Lynne, let's hear all about it.
Good morning, Alton. Thanks so much for having us. Today we're going to be talking about all of the events that will be happening around our area during October 31st through November 6th. So let's get started. On October 31st, beginning at 5:30 p.m. and ending at 8 p.m., trick or treat at the Callaway home. The long tradition of celebrating Halloween at the estate continues. The porte-cochere will feature spectacular ghostly garden decor, and full-size candy bars will be given to costumed children. This is free to the community. For more information, please email info@hillsanddales.org or call 706-882-3242. On November 1st at 7:30 p.m., the LaGrange Symphony Orchestra will be in concert at Callaway Auditorium. November's concert community warmly welcomes the holiday season. This is a time of year for gathering and for music, a wonderful combination. The LSO is honored to share the stage this time with special guest violinist Karen Birds. Having appeared as a guest concertmaster with the LSO, Karen Birds returns to the stage as soloist for the ethereal Lark Ascending by Ralph Vaughan Williams. In addition to serving as concertmaster of the Columbus Symphony, Karen has worked with a diverse range of artists such as a violinist and arranger, including Christian Bush from Sugar Land, and is featured on albums by Outkast, Goody Bob, Pink, Sinead O'Connor, and on the hit single Survivor by Destiny's Child. Karen is also a voting member of the National Academy of Recording Arts and Sciences. In a nutshell, this program is a perfect mix of exhilaration, pastoral serenity, and inspiration. This concert will refresh your soul through music, and we invite you to be a member of our treasured audience. For tickets, go online to www.lagrangesymphony.org/tickets. Saturday, November 5th has a lot of exciting events, beginning with Leaving LaGrange Better Than We Found It, litter cleanup. The public is invited to join the City of LaGrange for its November 2022 litter cleanup from 8 a.m. until 10 a.m. Join us in front of Berta Weathersby Elementary School, which is located at 1200 Forest Avenue. Our community partner for this month is the Kiwanis Club of LaGrange. If you would like to join us, just show up. We'll provide all the supplies. We're always looking for partners like church groups, civic groups, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, businesses, schools, everyone, to help us leave LaGrange better than we found it. Want to join us? Contact Michael Coniglia at lagrangega.org. Also on Saturday, November 5th, come back to Hills and Dales Estates for Memories from Alice's Kitchen. Take a peek into Alice Callaway's own recipe box with Ann and Ed Jurgen of Cream French Catering. Ann will give her take on some of the Callaway family's favorite memories of dishes like herb bread, jelly roll cake, and devil's food cake. and discuss how Alice used herbs from her own garden in her recipes. Participants will be able to sample the dishes, take home Anne's version of the Callaway family's famous muscadine sauce, and get actual copies of Alice's recipes taken from her recipe box that's still located in the kitchen at Hills and Dales. The cost is $60 per person. This includes supplies and refreshments. Space is limited and pre-registration is required. Call 706-882-3242 or email info@hillsanddales.org to register. And finally, end your Saturday with music starting at 7:30 p.m. with Jess Jacoy and Air Park at Pure Life House of Music. Jess Jacoy makes atmospheric Americana for rainy days and twilight hours. It's an ethereal sound with organic roots anchored by a long-time love of country music, a storyteller's nuanced delivery, and a folk singer's finesse. A sound that blurs the lines between genres, creating its own blend of twang and texture along the way. Described as the growth of an exciting songwriter, destined to be one of the greatest of her generation by Alan Clackett, who is a renowned journalist and broadcaster. And Air Park has a sound that's both timely and timeless, rooted in sharp grooves 1 minute and dreamingly rounded edges the next. Over the course of 4 EPs, the Fords have created music that's honest and ever-evolving, glued together by nuanced arrangements, attention to melody, and the refusal to make the same record twice. Those are just a few of the events happening in LaGrange during the week of October 31st through November 6th. We hope you can get out, have fun, and be safe.
Wow, Lynn, that was a lot of exciting things that's going to be happening in our area. And I'm sure, like always, the families and friends will come out and patronize each and every one of them. I want to thank you for coming on each week and just informing us about all these events taking place. Hope you have a great day.
You too. Thanks so much for having me.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you've enjoyed City Week this week. My guests have been from Get Troup Reading. I had on Kim Myers, the director, as she talked about the upcoming event that will be taking place on November the 5th out at the Callaway Education Center. So make sure you come on out to Get Troup Reading and take away some valuable tools to help our young people become successful in anything that they do. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you've enjoyed this interview. And as always, I want to invite you back for more of City Week.